Hello, welcome to episode 131 of the Whatnauts review show. Every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by Kyle Springer.
How's it going, Melissa?
I'm doing okay. How are yourself?
Today has been a really lazy day, and I've loved it. I had some plans kind of get rearranged today. That's why we are recording this on Sunday night rather than Sunday morning, and then those plans fell through. So I was just like, well, we'll keep it where it's at. Like,
Yeah.
don't confuse Melissa. Like, let's do it at this time. No, that time. No, this time. But here we are.
Yes.
Fun.
It is
Indeed.
fun.
What has your weekend been like?
It's been nice. I drove around today and looked at leaves.
Good.
You know, while there's
Good old
there's still
classic
leaves. Yeah.
Autumnal things.
Yeah. Like, I figure I should do it as much as I can while we still have leaves to look at. And I hit a lot of neighborhoods where the leaves had fallen and hadn't been picked up yet, which is so fun to drive
Nice.
through. And like it was windy, so there's just all these leaves blowing all over the place.
But that was good.
It's very good. Just get lost way deep in a suburb in Chesterfield I've never been to.
Now, take that picture.
Yes.
What wine would you match that with? That's
Man,
what
I
I
don't
want to know.
Like, I can only think of like sangrias. Like, I couldn't think of a plain dang wine. It would be like a wine that I mixed with an
absolutely
apple cider
would be.
and some cinnamon sticks and like left in my fridge for several days to
That
to
would
blend.
absolutely be the name of your vineyard. The plain dang wine.
plain dang wines.
It's great. What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about a manga series called The Drops of God. This is created and written by Tadashi Aji, which is a pseudonym employed by the creative team of sister and brother Yuko and Shin Kibayashi, with artwork by
Wow.
Shu Okimoto. This is a comic about wine. It's a sommelier battle comic, kind of.
It's a sports comic,
Right.
kind of. It's an interesting one for sure. I had seen this. It's on Comixology Unlimited. If you guys want to go check it out, there are a whopping 44 volumes of this comic. We read the first 4, and yeah, I had seen this in there, and thought about pitching it. Never really got around to it, but then you finally decided to pitch it. So what about this one caught your eye?
It's just the premise. Like, I'm familiar with how like a sports manga would go. And this isn't a sport necessarily, but it's got the same kind of gung-ho nature to it.
Same flair, yeah, the same
Yeah,
style.
like this isn't like a slice of life or like a romantic comedy or something where the characters happen to be into wine. Like, wine is the basis of the story. Wine is like every goal, every obstacle, every activity. There aren't non-wine related subplots in the story.
Yeah, and if you don't like that, just don't whine about it. So there you go. So yeah, you are sipping on some wine right now. That's kind of one of the benefits of us doing this at night.
Yeah.
What are you sipping on?
This is a Riesling. I just bought whatever was at the store that was below $10 and also had one of theirs Schnucks likes it kind of stickers. Schnucks pick. According to Schnucks, it's
was
good.
Their like 1,000 yen wine. Here it is.
Right.
It's cheap. It's good.
Yes. I did get like halfway through the story before I'm like, okay, I need to figure out exactly what this exchange rate is. Yeah, 1,000 yen wine is approximately a $10 wine. I'm like, oh, good. That's what I buy.
Yeah.
Glad to
There you
see
go.
these being celebrated. Yeah, it's a Riesling. I think the brand is the vineyard or the name of it. I don't know. It said Hive and Honey on the bottle.
The Vinter and the
Vinter.
domain.
Yeah. I don't know. It's from California. It's pretty all right.
Okay, good stuff. I
Yeah.
have a freshly decanted glass of Mott's apple juice. It's a very prestigious brand if you are unfamiliar. But that's all I have. I don't have any alcohol, so.
I drank a red wine last night too because I always drink white wines. I think I tried to drink a red wine when I was like 22 and I couldn't handle it yet. Last night I was like, I need to get back to this. And I took a baby step, which is buying the Trader Joe's $4 red blend.
Okay. it's like when you buy the like knockoff ice cream and it says like frozen dairy product. Red blend. That's great.
Red blend. Reds were in it.
Yes, reds indeed. So yeah, The Drops of God. This was an interesting manga. I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly good and entertainingly cheesy. And stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's this strange mix where it's about wine and wine tasting and kind of celebrating wine. That's not much of a plot synopsis, but just the general feeling of the book. But then it's, like we said, it's kind of like a sports manga where they just really get into terminology and the love of the sport or the love of this product, the art behind it. There's a bunch of really flowery, purple descriptions of these wines, and in that sense, it's kind of up its own ass in that way. But it's so dramatic about how they do it. It's kind of just fun. It's like, I have to see where this goes because this is just ridiculous. I like this, you know?
Yeah, it's charming. It's so earnest about its love for wine. And it is all like, it's all French wines. And like we talk about, there are some like $10 wines. Yeah. There are some like $10 wines that they include in there. But it's all like all these words I've never heard of before. Especially for an American audience where we're probably used to a California wine, which only uses half as much of this terminology.
Right, yeah. But like it's one of the, like, I'm terrible with names in the first place, but then when you start, like, when all of this terminology is just in foreign languages and it's these words that I don't even know how to pronounce.
Yeah.
Like I can do okay with like Japanese names and stuff like that of like figuring out how to say it, but when you start putting in Italian and French and stuff like that, I'm just like, I have no idea how this stuff is said. So like half of this stuff was like, okay, I can skip that word balloon. I can do this, right? It's just like, this is all just gibberish.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. I had fun with these horror volumes. They actually took a little bit longer to read than I was expecting.
Yeah, we probably could have done well with just 3.
Yeah, though I do think where we stopped with these was a good, like, hey, here's the good like start of this book. So there you go.
And not to spoil anything, but the exact page like volume 4 ends on is so funny. Where he's like, tell me about this wine. And the woman's like, I can't tell you. I have amnesia and all I remember is the taste of the wine.
Yeah. It's kind of wild. Man, good stuff. Yeah, so we mentioned that this was on Comixology Unlimited. I believe Comixology has the like exclusive rights to the English translation. Wikipedia says as of May 2020, volumes 1 through 22 are available. So only half of the story is available on Comixology. With plans to offer all 40. Yeah, so yeah, cool. They will get there one day. And I do say there was a live-action television adaptation also titled Kami no Shizuku, which was broadcast by Nippon Television in January 2009. Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a live
this has been running since 2004. And what's weird, I'm reading here also on the Wikipedia page, after publishing 4 volumes covering the first 8 Japanese volumes and the first 2 apostles, which are the names of these wines he's trying to search for. We'll get to it. The 5th volume jumped ahead to the story arc for the 7th apostle, published under volumes 22 and 23. The publisher said that this was done by author request and urged readers to tell all your friends about the series, so there will be 2nd and 3rd seasons to fill in the gap.
Interesting. So they tried to just do a time jump in the stories so that they could get the sales up or get interest up in the show?
I don't know. It doesn't seem to be coinciding with the show. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're searching for these 12 wines and they find the first 2 and then they jump to 7.
Interesting. So let's back up a sec and let's do a plot synopsis for those of you guys who have not heard of this book and might be interested.
So this is about Kanzaki Shizuku. He works for a Japanese beer company, and his father is this world-renowned wine critic. And his son never took to wine, never got into it, went into beer purposefully so he wouldn't have to deal with wine. And then his dad dies. And he goes to his father's mansion. They're estranged. He goes for the reading of the will. And he sees this other young man there. And he's like, hello, I am a very well-respected wine critic. I'm your father's protege. And your father legally adopted me, even though I'm 28 years old. And so this means I am your competition to inherit his huge wine collection worth all of this money. And the stipulation of the will says that the wine collection will go to whichever one of the two of you can identify the 12 apostles, which is what this man says are the 12 key wines, these 12 pillars of wine, that within these 12 it includes every element of what wine is. And there's another wine called the drops of God, the finest wine in the world. And if you find this in the world based on the description that he gives you, which is just all this flowery poetic language, you're going to inherit it. All the wine will be yours.
It's kind of ridiculous, and it sounds almost like mad science-y of just the drops of God. They're out there. I have created them. I have found them. So good stuff, though. So what did you think? General thoughts?
I liked it. It was very fun. Even not knowing the terminology, on a technical level, what's happening, it's still I drink the thing, I talk about how I drank it and what it tasted like. The basic actions are very simple and very relatable, and the characters are pretty endearing. Even the bad guys are fun bad guys. Everybody's interesting, and there's all these mini side quests that are wine related on the way to find these 12 apostles.
Yeah, so just where we kind of stopped, the end of the first 4 volumes, they are just starting to go after that first apostle. So even then, we didn't even really get to what the main storyline is. But I do think this is a good introduction to this story, like we mentioned. I liked how this was paced. I thought it was paced very well. Like you said, I liked the characters. It was a lot of fun. Just kind of the things I can think of that aren't sitting well with me. 44 volumes? Are you serious? goodness gracious, how long is it gonna take you to do all of that? Like, we didn't even get to the first apostle in 4 volumes. Like, no wonder it's 44. Like, I really felt like this could have probably been condensed down into like 10. Like, that would have been just like, oh, chef's kiss, right?
The narrative does not feel slow while you're reading it, but intellectually you realize, why aren't we getting to the next stage? Aren't we supposed to be looking for something? Why are you helping this man try and fix up his restaurant?
And so that makes you think, like, if it's taking its time, you would get all of these character moments and stuff like that. And you kind of do. We'll get into that when we get into spoilers and stuff, but literally everything is about wine. I don't think there is one conversation in all 4 of these volumes that is not somehow about wine. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you don't get much character outside of that, which can be a little disappointing, but you get enough where, like you said, they are still endearing. You're like, I like these guys. Yeah. So,
like, we have a co-protagonist in addition to Shizuku, who is Miyabi. She is a sommelier in training at this French restaurant that, like, him and his colleagues go to on one of their beer sales, to impress the client trips out. And he kind of helps her, like, pitch a wine to his boss. He doesn't drink wine, but he knows it secondhand from his dad. And they become friends, and she agrees to help him on his search to find these wines, because he's like, I have no experience with wine. I just kind of half remember stuff, and I have a really well-trained palate. Like, I can smell and taste and describe things very well. And you're the person who actually knows facts about wine. So let's team up. Like, she's very sweet. Like, I think she's a great protagonist. You relate to her a lot. But I don't know anything about her. Now that you mention it, we don't know, like, where's her family? What was her upbringing like? Did she always want to go into wine? Did she have a boyfriend or something somewhere? No, we don't know. We only see her as wine.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our general thoughts and plot synopsis stuff. If you guys want to go check that out, we're going to get into a bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into spoilers for the book. So if you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. You guys can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. If you guys like what we do, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. We have a $3 tier where you guys can get all sorts of exclusive content. We just recorded a Patreon exclusive thing for Crossplay, which is our video game podcast, in which Melissa, you joined us to talk video game urban legends, and some spooky stories and stuff like that too. So that was a lot of fun. By time this goes out to the public as a podcast, that should be up on our website as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's for the $3 patrons and above. We do want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, but a big shout out to our Patreon supporters at the $5 tier. So thank you so much, Sam, for helping us out and keeping the mics on. Yes, we appreciate it a lot. We promise we're not spending it all on wine, but maybe next year,
Yeah.
That said, we did get another Patreon supporter at the $5 tier who has asked to remain anonymous. So this is the first and last time that you will hear me mention it on this show. So thank you to that person as well.
Thank you, mystery benefactor.
Yes, indeed. Benevolent benefactor.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I think that's what that word means.
Well,
benevolent benefactor.
Okay. Fair enough. let's get on to spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, spoiler territory. Here we go.
Spoiler alert, wine is good.
Yes, wine gets you drunk. In case you didn't know. So when was the last time I had a glass of wine?
Yeah, what is your wine history?
I'm not much of a wine person at all. I think the last time that I had wine was I want to say like early fall, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
And I got fairly wine drunk that night. I was feeling good.
Nice.
I have no idea what I was drinking. It was some white. But
yeah.
That's all that I know.
So one thing about this comic, I was looking at the wine glasses in the comic, and I'm like, these wine glasses look huge. And I wondered if that was just like, not yaoi hands, but like some proportional thing, like in Japanese visual storytelling. Maybe it was some sort of a method, like if this is such a pivotal prop, let's draw it larger to scale. And then I was doing research into real wine, and I realized, no, red wine glasses are that big. Melissa, you just don't know this because you always drink white wine. No restaurant has ever given you a glass that big.
That's funny.
That's true to life.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've seen those bigger wine glasses, so that didn't really throw me off. But that's an interesting thought of just like, I wonder how much stuff in all of the like comics we've read or stuff that is based on like real life, how much of that was, just slightly exaggerated to be like, hey, here's something that is of importance. Let's make it just slightly bigger.
The Daily Bugle building really isn't that pointy.
Right. It looks like J. Jonah Jameson might be compensating for something. Okay, well. So let's see. Let's start with these main characters.
Yeah.
Here. You mentioned that they're both they both bring sort of a certain aspect to finding these 12 apostles, right? They're kind of like a detective team in that way, right? Where you got one that's like the by the books, they're book smart, and then there's one who's like, I know the streets, the hard boiled one from the streets.
Except neither of them are hard boiled. Both of them are just really enthusiastic and cute.
Yeah.
And they've got like little bits of banter with each other that like isn't romantic, but you get the feeling that this would be romantic volumes and volumes and volumes from now. But right now they're just wine pals.
Yeah. So, well, like they have a scene kind of right after they meet, like the night that they meet, that they end up sleeping in the same bed together, at least. They both claim they didn't do anything. And so they're like, okay,
I believe
sure,
them.
cool. Yeah, same.
Yeah, that is a gag they pull twice where Shizuku just like, they go out drinking and then he's like hanging out with Miyabi at her apartment and he's just too drunk to leave. So he just falls asleep like on her floor.
Yeah. So that was an interesting thing. And yeah, I was kind of like that. There's a lot of manga out there that gets very fan-service-y, right? I think even when we read Fairy Tale,
yes,
stuff, right? It's just like I don't know how I felt about that because they say she's of age, but then it's like you're drawing her like she's maybe not. I don't remember exactly how old she was in that, but it's still just like I don't know. Feels weird to read this. But yeah, they don't have that kind of fan service. They do hint at the like romantic relationships or like, oh, this is supposed to be an attractive woman, or like we meet another character who's just kind of a pig, and he just has this like, oh, mademoiselle, you know, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, this is weird. Don't act like that. But that's kind of the only fan service we get.
Yeah.
At least in these first 4 volumes, which is kind of nice.
There's a hot model who's taking photographs, like print ad photographs for the beer division. And everybody's like, oh, she's so, but it's like more of an admirable thing. It's not like everybody's lusting after her. Like, it's like, oh, she's so pretty. She seems nice. Yeah. She's cool. This girl is cool. So I want to go where she goes. Like, that's more of the vibe with it. The way everybody at this beverage company like follows her around.
Yeah. So I'm glad that they didn't have that in there, but I thought the relationship between well, I guess Kanzaki is his last name. That's his family name. So Shizuku, him and Miyabi. Is that how you say her name? I wasn't sure how to.
It's a manga, so nobody pronounced it to us, but I would say yes.
Miyabi, yeah. They have a good relationship. I think they make a good team, and I think they're a good pairing. They're a good marriage, as the book might say, right? But it's hard to kind of dive into that relationship since everything is about wine. But I really do think that they spur one another on, and they're starting to inspire each other. Like, that is the thing that I think I started to notice, because though Shizuku like has all of these talents, like he's very humble about it. Like, he doesn't know. I mean, I guess he knows that he's good at this thing, and there are certain scenes where you can tell like he has some confidence in himself, but it's like he's not braggadocious, right? Like, he's just like, I really don't know what I'm doing. I need someone who can help, and so he's relying on Miyabi, and she's like, I know about things, but I'm not the best.
Yeah,
like,
and
I can help with certain things. Yeah,
and because she's young, she seems like she's like 26 or something. Both of them seem like they're in their mid to late 20s. Because she's younger and because she's still a sommelier in training, she's like, I know what good wines are. I can tell you all the facts about them, but I don't have the kind of money that I've drank these before.
That or the like life experience to go like traveling around the world and have all of these. Oh, this wine reminds me of this Mott's apple juice reminds me of when I was in India, and you know, like she doesn't have that experience. I think she mentioned that she's been in the town that they're in her entire life, or like, at least like in that city.
Yeah.
So, I liked them a lot. Yeah,
and I want to say that something I think really pulled me towards this manga and why I ended up enjoying it so much is that it is a down-to-earth adult story. I got kind of burned out on like anime and manga about high schoolers, because that's such a prevalent thing in this types of it in this medium and in the genres it has. Like,
popular.
I don't want another like teen adventure. Like, I've done it so many times, and like I'm getting to the age where it's like I need to see like adults do things. I want adult adventures, even if the adult adventures are very mundane, like this. Like, there's no magic, nobody has a sword, it's just wine. Like, it's just like, it's an exaggerated form of basically a normal adult activity, and that really resonated with me.
Good. Yeah. They have the right amount of comedy in there to keep you interested, right? There's the like right amount of ridiculousness where it's like the 12 apostles of God, and all the flowery descriptions of stuff, and then just like how everyone and their mom is like secret wine connoisseurs. And it's just like, what is up with this town? Like,
Hmm.
they all know about wine. Um, yeah, but then like I guess the next thing that I want to mention outside of those two main characters
Mm.
kind of teaming up to find these 12 apostles and the drops of God, um the main character Shizuku works for the like this big famous beer
Yeah.
company or something. They're starting a new wine department,
Hmm.
and they're like, hey, your father was a wine critic, he's like super
Yeah.
renowned, we want you to like be our like wine connoisseur. And he's like, dude, I've never drank wine in my life, like I'm the
Yeah.
wrong guy to ask there. And it's not until he has this kind of first blind tasting with his newly adopted brother,
Yeah.
which
Which is
is
something
one of those
the narrative
ridiculous things.
never, in this first 4 volumes, it doesn't get further into. Why did my dad adopt you? How did you get him to do this?
Yeah, who knows? He was just like,
Yeah.
I need something to spur my son on or something. Who knows?
Yeah. He needs a
Um,
rival.
yeah, but it's not until after they have this like first little blind
Mm.
taste test to see who gets the house after the father is dead,
Yeah.
that he then all of a sudden has the inspiration to be like, you know what? Yeah, I think I will join this wine department
Mm.
and help them out, because that way I can experience more wine and figure out what these 12 apostles are and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the team that they make up is starting to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I liked that bit of the story. There's just these like
Yes.
odd misfits of like, okay, you're on the team, you're here. There's an old woman there who just seems like a just like middle-aged, run-of-the-mill
Yeah.
woman. There's this elderly gentleman. Then, like we mentioned, there's the one guy who's kind of the pig. He's kind
He's
of loud.
yeah, he's an Italophile, whatever the actual word is for that, because I've never heard anybody who's so obsessed with Italy before. He's
Yeah,
all about it, and like he's very sweet on Miyabi, and I don't know if it's, but like he's always calling her like, oh, fantastico, and like treating her like he is a Fabio. Like they're in a
yeah.
romance novel. Like he's just like a hunk piloting a gondola around Venice. Like that's how he treats her. Like he's that guy. And she's like, it's
Yeah,
nice to
no
work with
thanks.
you, sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like, please stop. Cut it out. But yeah,
well,
I
like
do I like the
he's
team. I like
so
how
I was just gonna say he's so loud and obnoxious
yes.
about it that
Yes.
she's not really sure how to say like stop, don't do this. She's just like, oh god, it's happening again, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. But I do like the team. I like how that guy develops more nuance as the story goes on, even if he's only in it for like 2 or 3 volumes. He's still more interesting at the beginning than more interesting at the end than he was at the beginning. So I get a feeling that as a
Right,
character
yeah.
who's going to grow, who's not going to be kissing Miyabi's hand so much in the future. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll figure that out. But yeah, I like the older man who seems like he's just this, like he's just a company man. He's like, he's just, he's very quiet, unassuming, like, oh, this is my job. I just go where the company sends me. And like nobody thinks much of him until it's like, oh, this is from your private collection? Wow, you really know what you're talking about. And then there's the temp woman who is like, I'm just a temp worker. Like, I don't, like, I'm just here for X amount of time. Like, I don't know if you really want me weighing in on this. And they're like, no, like, we want you in on this because you're kind of the voice of the common person in our group. You're going to help us figure out, like, what's really going to have this mass appeal. Like, the fact that you're inexperienced is perfect. You're very valuable to us.
Indeed. Yeah, they had a storyline that was kind of running through volumes 3 and 4 about this competition because they're starting to want to import some wine and stuff like that, and that's where the one guy who's like, Italian wines are the best, not that French garbage. But like you start to see, like he starts out as this really loud, obnoxious character, but by the end of it, you find out why he's so obsessed with this, and it is this not heartfelt story because we don't really get the full story, but we do get a detail that's just like, oh, okay, like that makes a little bit more sense. Like you had a girlfriend that was really into French wine and stuff like that, and then she dumped you. And you're like, that's it. I'm only drinking Italian wine. Like, fuck the French. Like, all that stuff.
Italy is my entire identity now.
Right, yeah. And so it's these kind of big, ridiculous stories. And then underneath, there's like this, there's actually like a heartfelt, like real human moment to all of these stories.
Yeah.
Because we see another one about a failing restaurant, and it was like the husband and wife that ran this Italian restaurant, and the wife passed away, but she was the one that knew about all the wine, and now the restaurant got one bad review, and they're sinking, and there's this whole story of like the daughter also secretly knowing a lot about wine because she wanted to like make her mother proud and stuff like that, but she didn't. Like there's just these heartfelt like stories of like, oh, this is sweet, I really like this.
And like that's as seedy as this book gets, is that you think this restaurant owner has this ne'er-do-well daughter. He's like, you've been graduated high school for 2 years and you don't have a job, and you always come home late smelling like alcohol, like you're out drinking. And she's like, I was so inspired by mom's sommelier skills that I lied about my age and I took a bartending job. And I have had a job this whole time, and that's why I come home smelling like alcohol. But I never told you because I know you'd never listen to me.
Like I like those moments, but then that's really where I wanted the book to deviate from what it was doing, and I was like, okay, tell me more of that stuff. Like I do want these character moments. I want them to talk about something other than wine, right? So I don't want to keep repeating myself on that, but that's a big thing that I wanted with this book.
I think the book does do a good job of showing how metaphorical wine is. Like the first story they encounter is at the restaurant Miyabi has been working at. I think they call him the president of the restaurant.
Yeah, he's like the president or the CEO of the chain or something. That. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah, it's just funny to me because I've heard of a president of a business, but never a president of a restaurant. One restaurant.
Yeah.
So president restaurant, he has like this old business contact coming into town. They haven't seen each other in years, and she like sent a wine ahead. Like, oh, I want to drink this when we have this meeting. And they just accidentally knock it over in the wine cellar. And there's this huge rush. Like, okay, we have 3 hours to find a wine that tastes as close to that as possible, but does not cost nearly as much. And he's like, no. Yeah. And Shizuku's like, it has to feel the same way that wine feels. Like, it's not just about the taste of it. Like, wine evokes a very specific emotional reaction in you. Like, I need to find a wine that feels the same. And when they find this wine that has the same feeling to it, and this president drinks it, like, we see all these visualizations. Like, this wine is a woman standing in a field of strawberries, and you reach out your hand to her and she turns away. Like, that's the original wine. And then he finds a one that's the same image, but it's like you reach out your hand to her and she turns around and smiles at you. Like, that's the wine Shizuku finds. The president drinks it and he realizes like this business contact has been in love with him all of these years. So like the wine every story is about wine, but they use wine as this metaphorical prism to include a lot of other little bits of backstory and emotion and relationship in it, which is a nice setup. But yeah, I agree. Like, I couldn't take 44 volumes of nobody has a conversation where they're just like talking about how college was for them.
Right, yeah. Like, oh, college was like a Chardonnay. It was like, right. It's like,
Or it's like, I used to wanted to be a ballet dancer when I was a kid, and then I got into wine. Like, no, it's wine only. Nobody's life begins before they turn drinking age.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the adopted brother, Issei Tumine. I believe is how you say his name.
They put an extra O in it here on Wikipedia. It says just Tomine.
Oh yeah. There's
Tomine.
the pronunciation thing right next to it. Yeah. So he's also a renowned wine critic. He's this young upstart, up-and-comer, supposed to be real good at all of this. And yeah, he just kind of comes out of nowhere of just like, oh, by the way, a week before your father died, he adopted this guy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous, but he is kind of the main antagonist because he's not really a villain.
Yeah.
But they do build this healthy rivalry.
Yeah, and he's very, very arrogant, very full of himself, but he doesn't have any malice that is not outside of just wine and food criticism. Like, he doesn't have a personal grudge against anybody. Like, he just wants to prove that he is the best, and he's got very high standards for wine and the food that accompanies it. Like, he doesn't seem rude or malicious at any point outside of that. And he's very cold and calculating, and he's always like glaring at you through like these glasses he pushes up his nose.
Anime
there's the
glasses.
reflection off the glasses. I love him. I always like that villain in an anime, just like the cold calculating glasses man.
Right, because you know, especially with the other stories that we get, like, we didn't get any story about him yet. We know nothing about him. So
does he have like actual parents somewhere? Did they agree? Yes, we'll let this wine critic adopt you.
I am wine man. My parents died, and then a glass of wine came flying through the window, and I was like, it's an omen.
I was born in the wine. You merely adopted it. No, that's what Shizuku would say to him. Right, I was born in the wine. Wine merely adopted you.
But yeah, no, like you know, there's going to be some big setup, or at least I feel like there is, where like one of these wines is somehow going to break him.
Yes,
which I think is interesting to get that like sense of like, oh yes, he's cold and calculating. He's so sure of himself. He knows exactly the right answer. And yeah, like you know, at the heart of this, somehow they're going to open him up somehow, some way. Which we didn't get, but yeah, like that is something I wanted to continue reading this book to find out.
Yeah, we do get one fact about him, which is that I mentioned earlier the hot model for the beer campaign. We see her on the phone with Tomine, and we don't know what their relationship is to each other. Like, we've seen him, it seems like he's quite the lady killer. So we imagine this may be a young girlfriend, but you really don't know what the vibe is. And like, you see him like pick her up, and they're bantering back and forth to each other about wine. You don't know where they're going, you don't know what they're doing. And then it's revealed they're siblings. And that's why this 20-year-old girl knows so much about wine. And why they're like why they're very close, but you're like, oh, that's why I wasn't really getting girlfriend vibes off of him. That's a kid's sister we don't know.
Yeah. indeed, who also happens to be a secret wine connoisseur. Because
Yeah.
I think she has maybe one of the most dramatic moments
Yes.
in these first four volumes. They have this red wine. She drinks it, and she's like, "This tastes like abortion," and it's just like, what?
She's like, she
Oh
takes
my
one drink.
God.
She's like, this is
Goodness.
infanticide. And it's the whole thing's
Yeah.
a metaphor about how this was a wine meant to be kept in a cellar for much longer. You opened it too early.
Right, yeah. But it's just like the wording that they use is just like, oh my God, this is a little much.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a conversation that's about like ostensibly about sleeping with a younger woman, but it is about like when a wine is proper to be opened or not. Like, well, you know, you could keep it in there for this amount of years, but if you're feeling saucy, you could open that earlier.
Yeah, that too was a little bit like, I don't know.
Yeah, like
weird
it
wording.
only goes on for like a page, and then they're done with it. I'm like, okay, that was all of that metaphor that I need.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, then so Homine has this like assistant person. who-
Yeah. Oh, the
I don't remember her
lawyer?
name. Yeah,
Is it
like
the
some
lawyer?
kind of lawyer or something.
Ryoko or Ryuku.
I don't remember
Yuko.
her name.
Yeah, they spell it a little differently on Wikipedia than in the Comixology version. I think Comixology just had it as Ryoko. Ryoko
Interesting.
Kiryu.
Okay. Yeah, so like she's there too, and again, we don't know much about her. It looks like they're kind of sleeping together as well, because there is a scene with them
Maybe.
in bed there.
No,
and
there's
she's,
that's the short-haired woman who's the short-haired woman, she's like a seller. She's like a wine merchant of some kind. What is her name? Was
that's
this
who I'm thinking
Maki?
of.
Yeah, Maki, the president of Scion Trading. She's the financial
that's who I meant.
supporter of Issei Tomine.
Yeah, so she's there. She also seems to be kind of one of the bigger villains, or
Yes.
will be eventually.
Yeah.
But she hasn't really taken this stage yet. I got the vibe with her that she was trying to orchestrate something.
Yes.
She sees an opportunity and is trying to pull the strings on stuff. But again, we only read 4 of 44 volumes, so we don't know anything yet on that stuff. But I liked that. She remember when we were watching Mr. Robot and what's his
I think of it
name's
often.
wife,
Joanna!
We were like, she's up to something, and then she was
Yeah.
just never really up to something.
Yes.
Like I got that vibe.
Yeah. Like, this is a woman who is a power player or has the great potential to be some sort of a power player. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were an interesting pairing too, but one that seemed destined to not work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that
Like,
makes sense.
she might be using him to get at the wine. I think that might be what she says. Yeah, that she's
basically doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she says if he wins this huge wine collection, then I'll be like the broker for the wine and whatever he sells or trades. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were good stuff. Man, I had a question for you, but now I totally forget what it was.
I have a question for you, so you can
Go for
answer
it.
this before you think of the other one. So I mentioned that first little wine side quest where they have to get the wine to replace the one they broke.
Correct?
And it's the president of the restaurant, and like he knew this woman when they were like college students, and she ordered this wine for him at this restaurant, and he tastes it, and he just sees it as a very expensive French wine, and he thought it was this woman throwing her status in his face, knowing he was just like a college kid who was working his way up but didn't have the resources that she did. And it wasn't until 15 years later when he served approximately, that same kind of wine where he's like, I get the message of the wine now. What emotion the wine is supposed to make me feel. I was supposed to know that you were in love with me that time. This is at least the third Japanese story we've covered where there's a misunderstanding and then a couple doesn't talk to each other for over a decade. Because remember, this happened in it's Terror and Resonance, where like they all have that split, and then like the epilogue is all of them coming back together as adults. And then one of the stories is it Flavors of Youth, where like the girl tries to give the boy the mixtape, but it doesn't get to him.
Yeah.
Have you encountered this in other anime or manga? Is this a common trope in Japanese storytelling?
Yeah, because I feel like even when we watched the Midnight Diner, like we got a lot of similar stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just missed connections.
But it's specifically like a message was blocked or misinterpreted. It's not like, oh, we just never clicked. It's like she was trying to tell me something and I didn't hear it or I heard it wrong. And then we didn't talk to each other for 10 years.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, like that might just be something about their culture, because I know
curious.
like the whole like company man thing is very big in their culture. So it might be something with that of just like, hey, at a certain age, like if you haven't made these connections, you're basically just going to be a company man. And yeah, maybe there was someone that you missed, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Or like I'm even wondering if somehow this is maybe more of a tradition coming out, or not a tradition per se, but a popular story technique coming out of World War II and the destruction and confusion of that stuff. Of just like, we don't know where certain people are, if they're alive, or did they go somewhere else, just who knows? Because I mean, the one thing I know going out of World War II is that the United States started to make superheroes, right? When someone falls into nuclear waste or a vat of acid or stuff like that, they get superpowers, and it's like, oh, now they can do heroic things, right? Whereas Japan, like the stories that came out of that nuclear thing was Godzilla, right? It was these like giant monsters that are then attacking the city and stuff like that. So history can take things different ways. So yeah, it might have something to do just with something that happened in their history.
Yeah. Oh,
who knows?
I'd like to learn someday. Like to figure out if this is a dedicated thing, if this is on the TV tropes page of Japan. Like everybody recognizes what archetype they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Interesting. Okay. Good stuff. Well, let's see. Did you have any other kind of like favorite side characters that you wanted to talk about, or did you want to dive more into one of the like smaller stories that we got there? Or
the bartender.
Talk about the father?
I just want to mention for a sec, the bartender at the French restaurant where Miyabi works. I forget his name. He's not in it very often, but that guy's sweet.
He's. I think he was one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him, and then the father of the two brothers that are twins or something. That guy was a hoot.
I do love the twist where like it's these two brothers that have this family-run wine shop, and while their father's been away, they think their dad's in the hospital, and he's just like being secretive about what's happening to him. Just sort of this private, I will not share my burden with my sons. It is my own. You run the business while I'm gone. They've like split the wine business down the middle. There's like a wall made out of boxes. Each half is their half of the store. They run their own way. And then the dad comes back and he tells them like, I have cancer and I only have 6 months to live, so you'd better reunite for my sake. And then he
start
tells
understanding
Shizuku
wine.
Miyabi,
Yeah.
he's like, really, I found a girl and then I took her on a cruise for a month and that's where I've been and now I'm broke. So I need this wine business to do well.
That was, I think, the funniest moment in the whole manga. Because, like, that is the one thing where I think he did start to realize his, not his, I'd say his, like it's one person writing this. But yeah, they did kind of start to realize that they were just doing the same thing over and over again, which, again, 44 volumes, there has to be something that changes. But still, like, it's like, oh, it's going to be this heartfelt story. This guy's about to die. He has cancer, all this stuff. He has like 6 months to live. And he's like, psych, I'm just broke because I found a new girlfriend and she's a hot young thing.
The stories we've had, they're very sweet. And I like that this one was a little wackier. And I'd hope that we would see more of that as the story went on, that it would play with all sorts of genres within these wine side quests. Like a lot of what they're doing is, I think you compared it to detective work, where it's more like, okay, we need to find this type of wine from this region at this price range. We have 3 days to do it. We have to search all across Tokyo or wherever they are. Do they say specifically where they are?
I do not know.
I don't remember seeing any landmarks or anybody really talking about where the story is set within Japan.
I am not seeing it, but
I would like to see maybe if there's a volume where they are solving an actual mystery. Like it's a whodunit, where the whodunit is like, who stole this bottle of wine at this dinner party? And they have to figure out stuff about the wine and nail a culprit.
That would be amazing. Or I mean, like, I maybe not nail a culprit, but it like the key to solving this case is figuring out the wine that they had. They are like someone had some kind of like severe allergic reaction or something like that. So they had to figure it out that way.
Or
something like that would be neat.
Do you remember we're watching Sherlock at the beginning of the year and he has to figure out if that painting's a fake? And the way he figures this out is that like there's a star painted in the sky that would not have been visible at that time. I want to be like, we know this painting's a fake because like there's a little wine bottle painted in there and that bottle's wrong.
Yeah. It's like that's from the wrong domain. Or domain, I don't remember what the words are.
Were there wine facts in here that you were grateful to learn?
No. But yes.
Okay.
Like I did learn a lot more terminology. I do feel like I understand a little bit more of the culture and kind of the thought process behind wine and decanting things and why they look at the light with certain things there. Like I feel like I understand that more, but I don't have facts of just like, oh yeah, by the way, in 1812 this Venter and his cousin made this wine and it's known throughout the land. Like
the land.
I still can't even pronounce the names, so
I think this was valuable for me, particularly the bit on decanting, because like I've seen decanters and I didn't I heard that term, but I didn't really know what it was for. I think in my mind I thought it was just like a serving vessel.
Sure, yeah.
Like a pitcher.
Yeah.
And to learn and to learn like, no, you pour it in there and like this does change how the wine feels, how it tastes. Like, I've heard all these words about like decanting and breathing, but to like see it in action, this wine, like the words they use are like, this wine tastes tight. I decant it, let it sit for half an hour, then it's much smoother. Like, that's wine technique in like a way I can understand and apply in my daily life. Even if I don't have an actual decanter or like the fancy pouring techniques that Shizuku has, like, if I pour my wine into the glass and then start drinking it like 15 minutes later, I might like it a little bit more than I would.
Yeah. You know, so much wine, all of this decanting. We should have a more positive attitude. How about decanning? Yes, we decant.
Decanning? Demusting.
Anyways, I will see myself out.
Deshooting.
You guys don't want me here anymore.
I also really liked the French restaurant bit, which again is taking something that I've heard, like wine pairs, pair your food with the best wine and vice versa. Like this thing I've heard my whole life, but I've never really understood it in how it's put into practice. Like the way they do it, and like the whole premise of that mini mystery is that Tomine came to this restaurant, never drank the wines, just smelled them and wrote like, I'm never drinking these wines. And like he was a restaurant reviewer and he's like, this is a terrible restaurant. They don't know what they're doing. He's like, the food was good, but they don't know wine at all. And they realized that he could tell by scent this wine was going to act against what the food was doing. They're like, this is exactly how you pair things. And they talk about how Chablis should go with oysters, but it's not every Chablis. It needs to be a Chablis of a certain age or of a certain region. And that goes good with oysters. If you get the wrong Chablis, it's not going to work. And how it's supposed to balance and enhance what you're doing, which is why you drink, like the restaurant owner says, oh, I was serving him a dessert. I didn't think he would also want a dessert wine. That's too much sweetness together. And they're like, no, that's the point. The wine and the dessert make each other sweeter. It's a marriage. They enhance each other. They're better together. It's not overloading. That is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I liked that stuff as well. That is the interesting thing, because they do go into a lot of detail about stuff like that. However, there's still things like decanting that I know certain wines need.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it. I still don't like why. What is the science behind this that makes it taste better and stuff? And I kind of would have liked to see that, especially since that's something they do basically from the start, right? Of just like, hey, oh my God, he's decanting it from a mile away. Oh God. And like, I want to know more about that. And you mentioned that this is
No, I just want to see an issue of Fantastic Four where Reed Richards stretches his arm out and he is decanting from a mile away.
Good stuff.
It's like, yeah, I had a break between Doctor Doom attacks. I thought I'd pick up a new party trick.
But yeah, like, so we mentioned that this is kind of like a sports manga, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in sports mangas, there's usually some kind of character or team who usually like one main character or something, where they are a superstar, but they don't know it yet, which is basically what this main character is, right? Like they've been training their whole lives for this, but they just don't know that that's what they were training for. It's the whole like Karate Kid wax on, wax off stuff, right? One of my favorite sports mangas is Initial D. I love that show. It is phenomenal. Please go watch that show. It will surprise the hell out of you. But yeah, like it's the same thing where the main character hates driving, and he works as a tofu delivery a tofu delivery driver for his father, who used to be this big racer, this big like race car driver. And without him knowing it, his father has been like secretly training him on like how to drive and how to do certain things. He's like, oh, have this cup of water and stick that in your car. Now make this delivery within 15 minutes, but don't spill a drop of this thing. And he has to make all of these sharp turns and stuff like that. So it's just like he's teaching him how to control the car and stuff like this. And that's almost exactly what you get in this thing, where he's like he's the father that passed away is like back when they were younger, had his kid like taste all of these different things. He would have him like eat dirt and lick leather belts and stuff like that. And it's just like, what is this? Why are you doing this? And he had no idea. Eventually he got it and was like, okay, he's training me to be a wine critic, but I don't want to do that. Like, I had no say in this. But then you get these ridiculous moments where someone else is a prodigy, and they're like, oh, I can really tell that they are a superstar. I can see their aura, right? And we get that with a number of characters in this too. The supermodel, the homeless guy, who is I think he was also one of my favorites too. Just like, here's this homeless guy who is this wine connoisseur, and it's like, oh, this is great. I like this. But yeah, and it's just like, as the book continues, these characters like just keep having to one up themselves somehow, some way, or at least learn some small new trick for the next competition, right? And so in that sense, I think the book really hooks you. But it's interesting to see that template applied to I want to say food, but we also did read Chowdown Champs, which is about competitive eating. So
but in Chowdown Champs, I don't remember them having eating-based side quests. Like, I think they'd like go to a restaurant and like win the all-you-can-eat competition, or what, can you eat a steak this big in an hour, whatever. But like in this story, I really like that it's finding so many ways for these characters to apply their wine knowledge and their wine tasting
other things
to help people.
Oh, sure,
like, it's not just all of these little, rumbles that they're winning with like other sommeliers or something. It's like, no, we're going to use our skills to bring people together, to help businesses and things like that. It's very, I don't know. I like, it's a good vibes comic to like see these characters be heroes in this very small scale way within the field that they have.
I agree. Good stuff. What do you think besides the whole, like, I want you to have my collection of lines, what's your thoughts on why the father is doing this? Like, is he trying to teach his son one final lesson, like the ultimate lesson, or is he doing him a favor? Because we haven't mentioned his mother. We know that the mother passed away when he was a really young age, so it could have something to do with that, of just like, hey, I want to give you something that will enable you to remember your mother in a certain way with these certain lines. It might be that. But
like when he tastes the first test wine to decide which one of them is going to keep the mansion, and he loses the mansion, so I don't know where he's actually living. I don't think we see Shizuku's house. Like, he's just crashing on Miyabi's floor, so I don't know.
Tent, Who
Yeah,
knows?
I don't know what his situation is. But when he drinks that first wine, like he does with this very vivid flashback to like playing in a vineyard while his mom was sitting there sick in her wheelchair, and he tries to like give her some grapes he picked up off the ground, but she can't eat them. Like he's this
Yeah.
very powerful emotional reaction of this memory that had gotten buried. You're right. It could be something like that. We don't know when is it Yutaka is the father's name? Yeah, Yutaka Kanzaki. We don't know
Hmm.
when he named his 12 apostles and his drops of God. Was it named in the last handful of years with the point of I need to I know my son well enough. I know his life experiences and how even if he was a kid, those are still so intrinsically tied to things related to wine. If he drinks these wines, these will unlock these precious memories that I want him to relive now that I'm
Hmm.
gone. Or it could be just this more general wine is life. Life is wine. Like if you drink these wines, it'll give you a greater understanding of like art and humanity
Yeah,
and existence.
indeed. Something else. Again, I had a question. It was about the father. Uh, oh, so I guess one of the things that I did like about this is yeah, how the wine is causing him to slow down and reflect on these things. I
Yeah.
think that's actually maybe my favorite thing about this manga is that um it's a lot more of something that I wanted. Have you seen the show 6 Feet Under? It's an HBO show.
I
Uh,
feel like I saw one episode of it back when it was airing. I kind of know the premise. Yeah.
it's about a family who run a funeral home.
Mm,
Uh, and I guess the best way I could describe it is it's a slice of life story just about this family
mm.
and all the stuff that they go through, the people that they meet, and just these stories on how life is precious or is scary or is X, Y, and Z. Um, but the first season, especially, like I guess like the first half of that, the father passes
Mm.
away, and the two brothers that run the funeral home underneath him now are kind of discovering their father of like who he
Yeah.
was. They're going through all of this stuff. They found out he had this secret room at this bar and stuff like that, and and they're just like, wow, like I had no idea who my father. So like I'm almost getting that same thing because they ended up dropping it in 6 Feet
Hmm.
Under. They just kind of moved on with other stories, and I really liked that. And this, I'm
Yeah.
kind of getting that of like now we can get these memories. He can find out about his mom. He can learn something about his father, or just things about himself with these experiences.
Yeah.
Um, and that I think I don't know why, but that's for some reason really connects with me. I'm just like I
I
like when
think
stories
so.
do that.
Yeah. Of like, I'm going to tell you my life story very obliquely, after the fact with all these sort of metaphors and clues in a way I never could when I was alive.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Um, do you have final thoughts? Something else that you might want to
Mm,
mention about this book before we wrap it up?
mm. If we want to talk about the art briefly, it's a good
Sure.
looking comic.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I
Um,
think its moments of very exaggerated faces are few and far between, but like very well chosen, illustrated very well. And like very distinct character designs. I can always tell who is who, even in this more down to earth world where, nobody has like a Yu Gi Oh haircut or a sword or, or a wild superhero costume. They're all just adults in suits.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I liked the art. Whoops. I liked the art bunch. Like you said, it's this down to earth adult
Yeah.
story. I think the artwork also reflects that. Um,
Yeah.
where they like we said, there's not a bunch of TNA. Like they're all drawn very respectfully and proportionally.
Yes, they all look like normal people.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, yeah, there's a maturity, I think, in the expressions.
Yeah.
To nothing as ridiculous as some of the stories are. There aren't these kind of big drawn out expressions from them. They're very reserved. They feel very genuine. There is a time or two when it does get a little bit more cartoony and stuff like that, but I think it's used very effectively.
Yeah, and I like that there's all these marginal comments around the word bubbles. Like it's like things characters are muttering or saying under their breath or adding after the fact that are drawn in this different typeface floating outside the word bubbles. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I've seen that in a number of manga and stuff.
I think I've seen it before, but I don't think I've seen a manga before where it was used so much as like part of the regular style and the regular way the characters communicate.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. The art is great.
Particularly
so,
the
check it out.
All the imagined scenes of like what a wine makes Shizuku feel like. Like he drinks a wine that feels like a masquerade to him. And it is this big, beautiful splash page of like all of these centuries old nobles in these fancy party dresses and masquerade masks. And it's gorgeous. Indeed, I wish I could see colored versions of these comics, or like if these included more than just the cover image in color. I wish I could see supplemental art.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it, though, for stuff that I have to say on this book. Go check it out.
It is fun.
A lot of fun. Surprised me, but yeah, again, just like 44 volumes. Come on, man. There's no way I'm gonna get through 44 volumes of that. A lot.
Yeah.
There you go. Do you have recommendations? If people liked this, what else should they check out?
Yeah, this reminded me that I still need to see the movie Sideways. It's been on my to-watch list since I was like 13 years old. I told myself I would get to it this year, but I haven't yet. It's a movie where Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, the beloved Spider-Man villains, just like go driving around drinking wine in the Napa Valley. It's just like sort of this odd comedy I've always been interested in. I haven't watched that yet. I want to. So I'm recommending an idea to you, an idea of an experience I haven't had.
Interesting.
I'm like Miyabi, like I know what it is, but I haven't had it myself yet. But I did watch a wine movie this week. It's a DVD I borrowed from my dad, so it was very accessible. Like, I'll just pop this in the player. Now's the time to watch it and get it back to him. It's a movie called Bottle Shock, based on the true story of, in 1976, to kind of to honor like the American bicentennial and like the rise of California wines. There was this big wine tasting event in France that was French wines versus California wines, and it's about the California wine that won and like made the world take California wines seriously. It's got Alan Rickman in it as this hoity-toity wine connoisseur who organizes this whole thing because his little wine shop needs business. Chris Pine is in it. He's wearing this like not great looking hippie wig. It's like the son of the vintner who makes this wine. It's a little corny, but it's got some charms to it. My dad really likes it, so it was just nice to watch a movie I know my dad likes. And then I went on YouTube looking up wine videos so that I could learn more things because I'm real interested in this now. And I found a channel called Wine Folly.
Oh.
I broke it down into these like little mini videos about these different aspects. Like, this is an 8-minute guide to how you taste a wine. Here's a video really about how to pour a wine, or like what a decanter is, what a tannin is, how to read a wine bottle label. And the host is, it's really fun and cute. So if you want to learn, you can look up Wine Folly.
Okay. Wine Folly. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So yeah, we mentioned on the show here, Chowdown Champs, another food related sports manga kind of thing.
Yeah.
That one, I guess yeah. If you want another one of those, it's a lot more ridiculous in my mind. I don't think it was as well
Yeah.
written.
It's very over the top.
Yeah, but it was still kind of fun. We also mentioned Midnight Diner. I would recommend that. It's a lot of connecting over food. Yeah, and just these like heartfelt stories about connection and stuff like that. And then of course Initial D, if you want a good sports manga, stuff like that. Yeah. Trying to think. What is there like a good like food movie or something that I've seen?
Ratatouille.
Ah, yeah, Ratatouille's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good handful of stuff. Good handful of stuff indeed.
Yeah.
There you go, Melissa.
Yes.
It is my turn to pitch things here.
It is.
It is indeed. I didn't really have much of a theme, except I wanted something kind of plain and simple, and to go back to my roots, the things that I like. So we have 2 movies and a comic book. We have a sci-fi film, we have a murder mystery film, and we have a superhero comic. Pitch number 1 is a sci-fi film from 2018 called Prospect, starring
Going
Pedro.
back to your roots of 2 years ago.
2 years ago, back to my roots. This is starring Pedro Pascal, Sophie Thatcher, and Jay Duplass. Let's see. The film is about features a teenage girl and her father traveling to an alien moon with a contract to mine gems on the moon's poisonous forest. On the moon, the father is driven by greed, and the two encounter dangerous strangers in the forest of this moon.
There's a moon forest.
Yeah. So I've heard good things about this, especially that it really does not rely on special effects. Right? It's not some big fantastical sci-fi thing. It's just this very, very simple, very gritty kind of sci-fi story with not many people in it. But that's all I know. I've never seen this. I know it won a few awards at some film festivals and stuff like that. But yeah, it got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
nice.
Pretty good review there.
Yeah.
Pitch number 2 is a movie, back to my roots, from 2019, an American mystery film directed by Ryan Johnson, named Knives Out.
You haven't seen this yet, have you?
I haven't yet, no. This is a modern whodunit film that follows a master detective investigating the patriarch's death after a family gathering gone awry, starring an ensemble cast of Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, a whole bunch of people, Keith Stanfield, who I like, all sorts of people. Yeah, I've heard good things. I know a lot of people really like this. I have yet to watch this film. So there you go. That's pitch number 2.
There we go.
Pitch number 3, superhero comic. This is basically an alternate universe Batman story. It's called Batman White Knight.
Oh yeah. You've pitched this before, haven't you?
I think so. I think
like a long time ago.
If not, I've mentioned it on
Yeah.
the show. But yeah, it's written and drawn by Sean Murphy, and it is basically it's a modern day Batman story where cell phones kind of exist. It's not like, set in the old 40s and stuff like that, but the premise is basically this: Batman gets in a fight with the Joker, and he just starts beating his ass. But like I said, cell phones exist, and people are standing around, and they're watching it, and they film it, and it goes viral, and Batman looks like he is murdering this guy. And as much as they don't like the Joker, this looks bad. And the Joker is in a coma for quite a while, and he wakes up, and when he wakes up, he has gone totally sane. And he gets into politics and wants to become Gotham's White Knight. So it is, I believe, an 8-issue graphic novel. I know recently a sequel called Batman Curse of the White Knight came out. I have not read that one yet, but I have read this first book, and it is very good. Would highly recommend this as well. So there you go. Pitch number 1, sci-fi film called Prospect. Pitch number 2, murder mystery, Knives Out. Pitch number 3, superhero story, alternate universe Batman, White Knight.
Okay. White Knight. We've read comics 2 weeks in a row now, and my hand needs a break from the continual swiping motion on my tablet where I read digital comics. So I'm comicsed out for a bit. Prospect is intriguing
I
because
own this one physically. What are you talking about?
And I can't get it from the library because I've been waiting for my DVD of On Her Majesty's Secret Service to arrive for like a week, and they don't have it yet. So I don't trust them to get me a physical copy that soon. Prospect is intriguing because it would be nice to see Pedro Pascal's face without a helmet on it. But Kyle, you need to see Knives Out, so I have to pick that one.
Okay.
I saw this last year. I had a really fun time, and I thought Kyle would love this movie. And I'm amazed it is taking you this long to watch it.
One of the things that we did early on for the Whatnauts podcast, the original podcast that we made here at the Whatnauts, is we watched Ryan Johnson's Brick, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I really liked that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and this was the movie that Ryan Johnson made after he did his Star Wars movie that got very mixed reception. So yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this, so I've always been intrigued.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for you to see this.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch this for a second time now that I know how the whole mystery goes. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, that is what we will do this next week. Then we will watch Knives Out. It's available on Amazon Prime, so that's where you guys can watch that one there. Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps us up, though. So, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And you can listen to my new podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities. This is me and my brother talking about weird old kids shows. Some we remember fondly, some we've never seen and we're watching for the first time now as adults.
There we go. Good stuff. You guys can find me at Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with our shows, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. I am happy to announce that we have surpassed surpassed 100 subscribers on YouTube. Finally, we made our goal.
We are the champions.
Before the end of the year. Yes, we are the champions. If you guys like this podcast and you want to watch us instead, we put this show up on YouTube, and I can finally say we are at youtube.com/the Whatnauts. So
nice.
It's not some big alphanumeric extra long thing. I'm just like, no one's
we got it. Not the old funk band, the Whatnauts. It's ours.
Yes. We got the domain name. We got the YouTube channel. We got the Twitch thing, the Twitter thing.
They're not gonna Twitch.
I don't even know if they're still alive.
Yeah, I don't know. If you are still alive, Godspeed.
Man, yeah. Go to the Whatnauts. I mean, you know what? That's what I'll do too. I'll have to go to the whatnauts.com/YouTube and make that a thing.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah, you guys can watch us on YouTube now. So the next thing, go follow us on Twitch. Go subscribe to our Twitch channel to reach affiliate, which is going to be the next thing I think that we're pushing for. We need to get 50 followers, and right now we are at 41. So that is one of the things that we need to get. That's not the only thing we need to do, but if we can at least start getting over 50, that would be great. We live stream the Captain's Log every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, unless something changes. So that's why you should go follow our Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff. Down the road, I'm hoping to do more streams on there and stuff like that, especially with crossplay now that we have a video game podcast. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, I will stop talking now. This has been episode 131, I think, right?
Yes.
Is that the right one?
Yep.
Yeah, 131.
That's it.
Of the review show. Thank you all so much for checking it out. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.